live. You'd think on a holiday when I don't like have work or anything getting away, I'd manage to get here on time. Like one would expect that could be a possibility, and yet here I am, like 20 minutes late. The absolute worst. The absolute worst. I don't know. Maybe if I were getting paid for it, I'd be a bit more concerned about the timeliness of starting my own streams. But as it stands, there's a certain freedom, like a certain relaxation and freedom that kind of comes with that, though. The fact that like I'm not beholden to a schedule or anything kind of makes it nice. I appreciate that about these streams. It's probably part of the reason why I like doing them so much, is that it's completely stress free. Like there's 100%, like there's no one expecting anything from me, and even if they are, it's a mistake because there's nothing riding on this. Like it's not like lack of viewers or anything like that results in lost revenue for me. You know, it's like as cool as it would be to get paid for this. The flip side is it's really nice to not have my livelihood dependent on it. So that way when it's like I'm just here and I'm running late, then hey, you know, no worries about that. But hey, Enforcer, it's going all right for me. It's going all right for me. Hopefully it's going well for you as well. Give it another couple minutes. In case anyone else wants to trickle in here right at the start before we get going on anything. Yeah, but, you know, 20 minutes late. 20 minutes late. I got literally no obligations. Nothing in the way of me getting here early except for my own inability to pay attention to the clock until I suddenly see, oh, it's 11:30. Supposed to be streaming right now. Quick. Got to get everything set up. Here we are. Oh boy. I should just set an alarm on my phone. I should set a reminder. Because it's like I'm really good at holding to a schedule throughout the day in general. A lot of things, like I'll get distracted with whatever I'm working on at the time. And like I'll buzzer beater, like I'll run that one up to the buzzer, right? So it's like I'm working on something, oh, I don't have to stream until 11:30. And then 11:30 rolls around and I'm like just now finishing up with whatever I was doing beforehand. And that's the issue. Wow, I am looking really washed out on the camera here today. I think it's coming from the window right out there. We got a lot of very bright light coming in through the window today. It's kind of making me all kinds of pale and washed out there. Well, like I say, this is all free content, so there's no professional quality to be found here. There's just me and my goofy amateur behind figuring it out as I go. I don't know. I'd like to think that maybe that's part of the charm of my stream, right? I don't know. Whatever. It's whatever. Oh boy. It is a holiday today. It is Veterans Day. And I guess that means the kosher thing is for me to say thanks to the veterans out there, which I do appreciate their work. I appreciate their work. I'm not as like in love with the concept as everyone else is, you know, of like war and military and stuff like that. But generally speaking, I appreciate definitely the fact that we have a volunteer military with a bunch of people who are willing to go out there and do that work so that I don't have to. Like I will say that I'm genuinely thankful for the fact that I don't have to worry about being conscripted. One, because at this point in time I'm too old for it, and two, yeah, like believe it or not, it's my old fucking ass is not one that the military wants. But two, because we have enough people who are willing to do it that they don't have to force me to do it. So that's really nice. Let's see here. Making a new character as Frankenstein Rogue died. Oh no. Oh no. Is that possible? He's undead. Like, can he die again? Like, if he was already dead, how can you kill that which is already dead? I'm gonna get into some real philosophy there. So, yeah, no, I feel you though. There's like, it's always disappointing to lose a character that you like. But the flip side of it is, like, for me anyway, and maybe this just comes with being a DM, so I'm very used to my characters and creatures and creations getting absolutely wrecked throughout the course of a campaign. Like, that's the point of most of the things I create. but like there's always a new idea. There's always a new idea to explore and enjoy. So it's always kind of bittersweet when you lose a character. So fell 450, fell 450 feet. You wily coyote that one. That's if there's a way to go out, I think that's one of the better ones because that's cinematic if nothing else right there. I like that. I like that. All right, let's see here. It's been about 5 minutes. Let's go ahead and get things rolling here. Let me swap us over. And fade effect. I will never get tired of that fade effect. It will always make me happy. It's so pretty. Okay, good. I look a little less washed out when the picture's smaller, but I think that's just because the picture's smaller, so there's not as much to see. Whatever. I don't know why I'm fixating on that today. It's really weird. Also, my microphone is being very frustrating and not holding the position that I want it to. Maybe if I would actually get myself a real mic, I wouldn't have to worry about it quite so much, but alas, here we are. Alrighty. So, we were working on a dungeon. What else is new? We were working on this dungeon right here. The first part of our dungeon that is a sort of elaborate maze created and then eventually abandoned by the dwarves of the city of Kagdaral, meant to be sort of like a choke point for people coming in, where historically either a guard would be there to escort them through this maze properly, or if it were invaders and intruders, it would serve as a place for them to get lost, confined, separated, so that the dwarves could properly defend their city from anyone trying to get in. So we're trying to create this place that is, in a lot of ways, very sort of monotonous in look and feel, because it's the purpose of it. It's a dungeon for people to get confused and lost in. So yeah, we're in the process of doing that, and we're making pretty good progress on it, actually. Like, I'm kind of pleased with how quickly we're getting through this one. It takes time, certainly, but I don't know, this one's just moving along, probably because I don't have to spend a lot of time doing flowery descriptions. Okay, what do you got here? Abjuration, Pacifist, Wizard, Halfling. I've never played that race before. Hey, always fun to try something new. Oh, you never played Lawful Good. Is that to say you've always played evil, or you've never played Lawful? Either way, it's fun to try something new. It's like, again, maybe this comes from being a DM, but I'm constantly trying new roles and new personalities and everything. So it just, it kind of comes with it. But I always have fun with that kind of stuff. So I encourage you to lean into it heavy and have fun with it for sure. Okay, so let's see here. So this room here, okay, easy battle, and they need key 1. So let's see here. Easy battle. True neutral is really good if you want to be able to have freedom to just sort of like respond how you feel like you should respond to any situation, as opposed to having to think about like, well, what would my character do? So I definitely appreciate the true neutral approach to things. In fact, I think most players end up, regardless of what they say, I think most players, especially new players to the game, end up playing true neutral, whether they originally set out to be true neutral, they end up being true neutral. So I think that's a pretty common thing, because and I say that because even a player who always just sort of acts with their heart and they're a good person will occasionally have times where they're like, oh, let's just kill him, and they'll just do that, and like that'll bump them back to that neutral side of things, which I can certainly appreciate. Okay, so we need to get about 150 experience points in this one with an easy battle. Do we have easy battles already? We do. This one we did 6 boggles, which is fine. Only done 1 of our 3 easy battles, so let's go ahead and do for this one. We'll do 150 XP as our target here, and then what I want to do is I'm just going to do 3 reduced threat gray oozes. Boom, boom, boom. There we go. Just easy enough there. That's a real simple one. Now we do need them to have key 1 here, so we do need to put in a little DM note. Players need key 1 from room 7 in 7 in section 1 to access this room. Oops, we need an extra S there. There we go. Boom. Okay, so we got our DM note there, which I'm trying to be better about. Just putting the DM notes in exactly where they'll become relevant. Like, basically put them in right before the sentence of the narrative that I would read to the players, just to remind myself and make sure I'm like, oh, I should double check and make sure they've met this qualification before I give them the details. Because it's like, you know, I've got a really good group of players, and they're totally understanding of when I goof up, and they're really good about not metaing too hard. Like, if I accidentally give them information, they're really good about saying like, oh, well, our characters don't know that stuff yet, we'll forget about it. But at the same time, once you say something, you can't unsay it. So it's like, if you give them the description of like, oh yeah, there's this enemy in the room, and then it's like, oh wait, that door was supposed to be locked, you guys can't get in here yet. It's like, oh well, now we know that we're gonna have to do some combat in here, and so it's really hard for players to just sort of forget that. So as good as my players are about doing that for me, I always do my best to not. I do my best to not put them in that situation of them having to remember that they don't know something, right? So I like putting the DM notes right here, right before, like I said, right before whatever part of the narrative or the description that it's going to be relevant. So that way I see it and I remind myself, oh, I need to pay attention to that. I need to pay attention to that before I give them the rest of the info. So that's what all this, like, I don't know, this red or orange, I don't know, I have a hard time knowing exactly what color it is. I'm red-green colorblind, so this is, like, all of this stuff is kind of, like, this stuff, that's all just kind of like a generic brownish type of hue to me. Like, this one's lighter than that one, but I don't know. Maybe it actually is brown and I'm just thinking that it's red. That'd be a real M. Night Shyamalan ding dong. Any advice on playing a halfling? Don't forget that halflings are lucky, or whatever that trait is. I'm pretty sure it's halflings, and anytime you roll a nat 1, you can re-roll it. So don't ever accept a nat 1. There's like specific things about it, but that's like the biggest thing for a halfling. That, and take advantage, like lean into the fact that you're a smaller creature. Like if you're a halfling or a gnome, lean into that fact, because it's actually a pretty unique thing. And I, as a DM, I don't know, I guess this kind of depends on what DM you're playing with, but I, as a DM, will sometimes, if I know that I've got a small person in my party, I will sometimes design rooms or dungeons explicitly to reward or take advantage of that. So pay attention for those opportunities. Don't be annoying about it, right? You know, don't constantly be like, oh, well, is there something small that I can do? But if a DM offers an explanation like, oh, you find yourself in this is like a prison in a castle or something like that, and there's bars, just offer up and say like, hey, I'm pretty small, can I squeeze through the bars? You know, things like that. Pay attention to stuff like that. It can add a lot of fun flavor, and it can give you unique things to do as a smaller creature. So I would say those are the two biggest things. Like if I'm thinking of a halfling, yeah, don't sit there and look at a natural 1 and be like, oh shoot, crit fail. There's only some situations. It's not like every natural 1 is ignorable to a halfling, but a lot of them are. So remember that, and remember that you are a small character, and don't look at that as a disadvantage. Look at that as a benefit, right? And use that to your advantage when you can. Also remember it, though, for the flip side, don't try and be a hero as a halfling and stop like a big massive boulder from, you know, rolling down a hill on your friends. Just dodge out, get out the way of that one. So I don't know. I guess that those are the big ones. Those are the big ones. I usually don't play halflings actually. Whenever on the rare chance that I do get to be a player, I usually don't actually go for halflings. I like to go for all of the really wacky out there races, like all them cat people ones, or like the dragonborns and lizard folks, or the changelings. I like to be the really wacky ones, the ones that are really out there, because the ones that are like human or basically human, like elves are just like humans with pointy ears, right? I mean, obviously, like stats wise, they're all very different, but from just like a role-playing standpoint, it's like, man, I'm always, every day of my life, I'm just a normal people. I want to be the most wacky out there thing that I can be when I'm not being myself. So I always like to go for the goofy stuff. So I have limited experience playing halfling, but I have done it before. Actually, now that I think about it, I have played a halfling before in a campaign, and it was fun. And I always tried to take advantage of being able to kind of sneak and squeeze into small spaces, including to hide. I had my character hide very effectively quite often. He was a little scaredy cat, so I made him hide to great effect oftentimes. Okay, so let's see. We gotta offer a description for this room. As you enter this room, um, you see the familiar stone cube with doors on the. Let's see here. Which this is room 6. That's with doors north, south, and west sides. On the north, south, and south and western walls. Let's see here. So we got the oozes here. This room in particular, in particular, there it is. This room in particular has a heavy, musty quality. Oops, right, let's see here. Quality. Oops, no. To the air, as though you were wading neck deep through a swamp. You even suspect you catch a hint of the smell of death about this room, because it's just got oozes in there. It's just got oozes. So I want it to be like, I want it to really just be like gross. Now I'm gonna add another DM note here, because they're gonna. I always like to have the oozes start off on the ceiling, so that way they can fall in there and try and catch players by surprise. So we're gonna just say, let's see here, perception, DC. We'll set this to the middling, which is a DC 12. No, DC 12. To notice the ooze dripping from the ceiling before the full creatures drop to the floor. So they'll have the chance to notice that. That's definitely something that could be perceived if they go in and look around. Let's see here. So we'll say, suddenly 3 heavy, wet plops fill the room as 3 oozes fall from the ceiling and begin their slow, disgusting crawls towards you. Boom, there we go. Let's see here. Level 8, picked Bountiful Luck Feat, Meta Magic, Adapt with Quicken Spell, and Subtle Spell. Oh yeah, that's a good combo. That's a good combo. I think you'll have a lot of fun with that. I think you'll definitely have a lot of fun with that. If you're an experienced player, there's something fun about starting off at higher levels. So you don't have to like wade through the slow minutia of your baseline stuff before you get to the fun stuff. So there's that's always it's like one of those sort of like hidden silver linings of losing a character mid-campaign. You know, if you can make a new character at the higher levels, then it's like, okay, well, at least I don't have to, wait through, like, if you wanted to make a fight or something, it's like, oh, good, well, at least I don't have to wait through the first 3 to 5 levels where all I do is hit things with my sword and then wait for my turn again. Something nice about that. Okay, so now we have to describe the map. How did I set this up? What did I do for the compass here? Well, that's right, I was going to use, like, the map and the compasses throughout this dungeon to be like clues. I'm trying to like plop down little clues throughout all of these chambers to suggest to players that this dungeon isn't empty, because they're approaching this dungeon. The lore of the world combined with the nature of how this particular campaign is being set up and being run is they're under the assumption that this ancient dwarven tunnel system and dwarven city has been abandoned for centuries, and so they're unaware of the fact that it's actually currently inhabited by a large population of Durgar. And so I'm trying to drop in little hints for them to start suspecting, like, oh, maybe this isn't as uh, for or as abandoned as we thought it was. So I think actually what I want to do with this, on the it was the eastern wall that didn't have anything, right? Yeah, the eastern wall has nothing, so we're going to put something there. On the eastern wall of this chamber is a chalk drawing of a map. It is crude, and it is crude, and you question the accuracy of the scale of the hand-drawn map, but from what you've seen so far, it appears accurate. Let's see here. A few labels seem to be written. There it is. Seem to be written in some of the rooms of this map. And then we were using Undercommon for everything that they did, right? Yeah, Undercommon. So let's go ahead and put a little DM note in here for that. Let's see here. Written in Undercommon. How did I do it before? Okay, Undercommon. If nobody speaks it, DC 14 or whatever they want to do, like insight or investigation or something. I don't know. We'll just figure that one out on the fly based on how they're trying to interpret it. If nobody speaks at DC 14, to just recognize what the alphabet and language are. So it's like they can at least sort of get the chance to understand, like, oh, I don't speak it, but this looks like Undercommon, right? Because like it'll be the hints of it uses the same lettering as Common does, and so on and so forth. So that's good. We do need to add a statue to this room. Every room is intended to have a statue here. What ones have we used so far? So okay, we already did that one up there. Okay, you know what we haven't done? We haven't done one of these wall-mounted ones in a minute. So let's go ahead and do that. First off, we want to unsnap it there. Let's put this one just facing from over here, just like that. All right, let's see. Okay, what do you got here? She's probably gonna hate me when you went with the idea of being a pacifist, so no offensive spells. She does have 2 for her last resort. Makes snowballs, and the other freezes people. The rest of the spells are debuff or buff. Honestly, so I think there's a tendency for a lot of people to sort of knee-jerk, be concerned about someone that doesn't have all offensive skills. But honestly, the more I play, the more I value characters that can do things like crowd control, defense, and buffing. So I think if you play your character well, your character will be an incredibly powerful asset, and people will find themselves quickly looking forward to and even relying on the stuff that you're able to do with all of that. The trick is to remember to spam those spells and those skills all the time, and make sure that they are. I gotta make sure this is matching. There we go. Make sure that you always are, sort of playing the hero in that sense. Because the only time a defensive buff character has ever been like super unhelpful is the one that doesn't do those things. The one that like has bless or crowd controls, like entangling vines, all these different things that can help control a battlefield, right? All of that stuff is incredibly helpful. And so the only time that a character that's built to do those things isn't good is when they ignore those things and instead just like always wade into battle with their little knife, and do 1d4 of damage every turn while getting knocked out every other round. Those characters get frustrating and they can bog a game down. But if you use those buffs and those skills like consistently, like don't. I mean, obviously you don't blast all of your high level spell slots immediately, but don't be afraid to use those. Right, the spellcasters and like the buff mechanic based characters that sit there and hem and haw and don't use all of your attack spell or all of your spell slots to do those buffs and are just sitting there. So like every time you get a long rest, it's kind of pointless for you other than to get your hit points. Like you should be needing the long rests regularly to get your spell slots back because you're constantly building up the team, buffing the team, giving them bonuses, controlling the battlefield. That's what you do. So as long as you do that, you should be a wonderfully appreciated character. Um, I know in my group we have a couple people that are really starting to learn the value of doing all of those spells as opposed to just being another person that can like shoot a crossbow or swing a mace, right? They're starting to learn the value of being able to cast those entangling vines, do that like thunder wave to push people back and control and herd and manage a battlefield. If you can learn to do that, and if you can do that effectively, you'll be an incredibly powerful character. Incredibly powerful. Leave the attacking and the damaging. Leave that to like your rogues with sneak attack, your monks with the what's it called, the not multi attack, but you know what I'm talking about, right? Your barbarians with their rage. Let those guys do the heavy hitting, and then you as a buff based character play to your strengths. Do that. Magic circle, slow, tiny hut, banishment, water, sphere, shield, hinges, laughter, grease, rope trick. Yeah. All of those things. Grease. Use that. Control where enemies can and can't move throughout a battle. Slow, same thing. Tiny hut. Do that to get yourselves some space to have a rest. Things like that. All of those types of things. Lean on those things. Use those. Don't sit there and hem and haw and conserve all of your spell slots just to not use them ever, right? Use your spell slots. Take advantage of those. Control that battlefield, and you'll be a perfectly valuable member of the team for sure. Let everyone else do the heavy hitting. Type of stuff tends to be undervalued until, like, it's the type of stuff that a lot of groups undervalue, but that really only happens because they haven't had a member of the team do it properly. If you can do it properly, people will love you. They'll absolutely love you. 100%. 2 druids, homebrew class. DM, so, well, I mean, it's all between you guys and the DM. If they play it well, then that's great. And druids can be awesome if they can turn into, if druids can turn into different animals, they can like freaking hit hard as bears and stuff like that. So let them do the heavy hitting, and you just worry about controlling the battlefield, and you'll be a very, very valuable member of your team. Okay, so let's hear. So we got that room all figured out. We got our statue there. The statues are meant to be like the sort of like compass for everyone in this dungeon, so that they can it's a little meta because the characters have a top-down map, so it's easy enough for them to remember what room is where. But the statues, the idea is that different statues signify different rooms, and so someone who's really attentive could use that as a way to find their way through this extensive dungeon. Okay, ooh, a puzzle room. That's right, this is the puzzle room, and that's perfect, because this is where they can get key. Point of Abjuration School. Abjuration, oh man, I always get my schools mixed up. Abjuration is, hold on, let me remind myself here. Let's go to Abjuration, look at the magics, the nature of them. All of the different schools are based on basic things. Mage armor, yeah, I mean, Abjuration is very much about defense and sort of like, environment manipulation and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, that's really what it's about. I mean, you look at a lot of these different spells. Counterspell is awesome. I mean, Counterspell is really, really helpful in a lot of situations. You've got a lot of your, like, defensive armor type of spells and stuff like that. It's a very defensive school of magic, but again, if you use it properly, it can be one of the most powerful schools, for sure. All right, let's see here. Let's go. Let's work on some puzzles here. So we got a puzzle room. So this is like the one room in this dungeon that players don't need a key to get there. So we gotta kind of come up with a puzzle and how they can solve it. I feel like, honestly, I feel like in this one, what I'm gonna do here is, like, it's the puzzle is just that there's a safe, a combination safe or a combination lockbox. You heard Abjuration Wizard, who's doing their job right. Should look like they are not doing much. Yeah, 100%. 100%. They're doing defensive stuff. They're manipulating the world around them to give everyone else the advantages and opportunities they need to do their jobs. 100%. I think that's perfectly. I think that's perfectly a perfectly good and accurate description of abjuration magic in general. I think it hits the nail on the head. Let's see here. So, in the center of this room, you see a statue holding a box. On the front of the box are 3 spinning discs, each with dwarven runes written on them. And we'll just say, we'll put a DM note here. Anyone who can read Dwarven will see that they are, yeah, we'll say numbers. We'll just say 0 through 9, because it's just real simple. I don't like, we could try and get more complicated with it, but it's kind of, to what end would that, what would that serve? We're just trying to demonstrate for them that they've got a lock that has 3 dials that they need to they need to set properly. So, oops, no, I don't want that tool. No, not that tool. Dang it. There we go. Am I good with last names? What do you mean by good with last names? Like inventing last names or remembering them? Because if it's remembering, no, I'm terrible with names. I am horrible with names. Coming up with them, no, I'm not really good at that either. I use fantasy name generator to come up with names. I'm really bad at it. Let's see here. Each with dwarven runes written on them. It is clear that this is a locked safe built into the statue to ensure nobody walks away with its contents. I don't need an apostrophe. That's the wrong its. There we go. This way with its contents. Okay, so what we'll do here, now we need DM notes on how this works. No special tricks. This is just a locked box that needs 3 correct numbers to be unlocked. If players guess, let's see, okay, here's what we'll do. The combo is 5, 8, 3. Why not? It doesn't matter. Combo is 5, 8, 3.